This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast. My name is Audra Adams. My co-host, Lamar Powell, is on vacation, so he left me alone. That's okay. But we're coming to you from Legacy Podcast Studio in Kernersville, North Carolina. And today our guest is Shanna Stoter, and she owns multiple businesses, but the one we're mainly going to talk about today is called In Your Face Aesthetics. I think I said that right. If I said it wrong, go with it. She has a lot to tell us, and we want to get into it. Welcome, Shanna. We're so happy that you're here at the table today.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, I'm trying to think of how we got connected.
Yes, it's one of the scrub techs that I work with in my anesthesia department. I think you may have done photography for her daughter.
Oh, okay.
Kate iCard.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's how we know
I've
each other.
known her a long time.
Yes, and so that's the connection, I think.
Okay. I didn't know how it came about. I forgot. But then I kind of just, your feed on once we became friends, the stuff that you were posting was just hilarious to me. Oh. I'm like, this girl has no shame.
No shame. Nothing.
And I want her on my podcast after a while. So I totally hit you up on your messages and we went back and forth a little bit. And I was just like, you got to come on here. Just from, I don't know. I think what you're doing is kind of brilliant on there.
Oh, that's very sweet of you to say.
So this is a Small Business Leaders Podcast, and part of that is brand. I think you're branding your business by you in a lot of ways.
To some degree, true. Yes. Well, it started out 100% me. So
did it?
Yes, I was it for a long time until fairly recently.
Well, but it draws people to your personality, I think, and makes them feel like they kind of know you when they don't yet. And so maybe it would make them more comfortable. We haven't even said what you do yet.
Oh, what I do?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's kind of a complicated
well, we'll start with
question.
The one.
Okay, first one. Which one do you want?
The anesthetic. No, stop it. They all
aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
Yes, aesthetics. So I am a licensed nurse aesthetics injector, and I'm owner of In Your Face Aesthetics in Winston-Salem.
That's so awesome. And how long have you been doing?
So I started out kind of midst of COVID, ironically. It was kind of, that's where I jumped out. So when my primary training is in anesthesia, and so that's my other company, and 99% of what we do is outpatient, and when that all shut down, I basically had nothing going on. My husband made the comment the one day about how stressed I looked, and I jokingly said, it's because I haven't had any Botox, and you can tell how stressed I am. And he was like, well, why can't you just do it yourself? And that kind of put me down a rabbit hole.
Wow.
So it kind of was like born out of COVID. So I had lots of time not, working in anesthesia. And so I went down the training schedules of learning as much as I could, figuring out how I could make this work, whether there was an avenue for this for me. And I've always liked it. It's more of the, artistic side of things a little bit.
Really?
Well, you have to see a person in a 3-dimension, not just a flat surface, which is kind of what you do in anesthesia anyway. So that background overlays aesthetics really well. So kind of went down the rabbit hole, did all the training. I knew of another CRNA, or nurse anesthetist, up in Michigan who was offering training. And so flew up there, spent weekends with her, did hands-on training, and started the practice as a mobile injector. So
you go to door to door, or did you have?
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of kind of
Botox parties?
I did. And then I also, in my anesthesia business, had an extra office that we set up sort of as an injecting room. So it was a dedicated space for some of the stuff that you can't do mobily, and worked out of there for a while. But then everything just kept growing. I mean, to the plus, grew exponentially, and there was the demand amongst clientele that I had to decide to go brick and mortar. And so I did that as of October of last year.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're just a little over a year now.
Yeah, as a brick and mortar. Yeah, so 5+ years now injecting, which isn't a lot compared to a lot of people, but I also try to remind people that in anesthesia, have a large needle knowledge. IV starts, arterial lines, epidural catheters, spinal. So needles are not an issue for us. So you come to the table with a different knowledge base than a lot of people. So it was an easy overlay.
So you're certified nurse anesthetist.
Correct.
Did you also say you're a certified nurse aesthetics too?
Aesthetics, yes. License for aesthetics.
How do you get that?
It's really just in all the training that you do.
Okay. So you just, all right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, all right. I want to start before. Are you from here?
No.
In the Triad?
I am now. I guess I would say maybe I am now. I'm originally from Canada. So
What part?
Ontario, outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
So my undergrad is all that. I did graduate school here for my anesthesia.
Why?
The why. When I was in high school, my parents were transferred to the United States. And I stayed up there and finished my undergrad degree. And then when I graduated, it was a time in Canada where there was a lot of turmoil in the healthcare system. And so there were no nursing jobs. And so I ended up transferring down here. How we ended up in Winston was kind of a close your eyes and pick a spot on the map.
Really?
Figuratively and truly. Because my husband, we were engaged at the time. He was going to move with me. And my parents at the time were in Kentucky, of which he wanted no part of. I apologize to anybody. But there was no professional sports or hockey. So for him...
See, Kentucky, that's all. That's the only reason.
For him, he just didn't... that was a big thing for him, and if he was willing to make the move. And so we honestly looked at a map, and at the time, my parents were going to be moving to Florida. So North Carolina ended up halfway, like a 10-ish hour drive back to Canada and a 10-hour drive to Florida. And so... I wanted the beach, he wanted the mountains.
You get both.
So it literally was a split the map halfway north-south and halfway North Carolina, west and east. So
how long ago was that now?
98, because we got married.
You're a North Carolinian.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yes and no, but we've lived in Winston since 98. So I guess I'm almost more a U.S. citizen now than I ever was Canadian.
Yeah, I mean...
Because I'm old.
No, you're not. Well, you don't look it.
I don't look. I'm fighting it every day.
We were talking just before camera started rolling. Tell us about your family and how many children.
So married, we've been married for 25 years now. Got married in 99. Which, if anybody's a hockey fan, is the year of Gretzky. My husband was big Wayne Gretzky, 99. So we got married in 99, so he'll always remember it. We have 3 children, one who's 20 at NC State. I have a freshman. She's 18, University of Georgia, and a sophomore. She's about to turn 16 at Reynolds High School.
Tell me what it feels like I know from personal experience, but everybody's is different when your kids are spread out and they're not in the nest anymore.
Yeah, I didn't think I'm always been one of those parents. I try not to hover. They got to make the mistakes they do, and they got to be independent. I kind of feel like as a parent, that's ultimately your goal, right? Create functioning humans that are contributing to society and not a jackass. It's kind of how we've always talked about it. I don't care what you do, you have to love it, but you just can't be an idiot. You have to be a good person. I don't care what that looks like. But it's been a struggle. I didn't realize how much I would miss them and how excited I am when they come home. So but that's been good.
Yeah. When the last of ours go, I don't know what to do with an empty, silent house.
It's exciting to see them become the people they're supposed to be, though, and how maybe you've contributed to that. So
Maybe. No, girl.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of environment, and I try, it's as a mom and a business owner, that's a struggle. There are sacrifices in both ways. I have the beauty of being a business person and involved and showing them what it's like to build a business and be successful. But there's a sacrifice on the other side of things. I'm not part of the PTA. I'm not that mom that's bringing cupcakes and doing all those things. So you have to, you struggle with mom guilt.
But, yeah.
But I hope that I'm also giving them a different perspective, and can you do everything? No, I think it's unrealistic. I think people will put out there that, you can be this and that. There are sacrifices. You can't be everything, but I feel like I'm contributing to them in a different way.
For sure you are.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, let's talk about your anesthesia business, because
Sure.
you co-own an anesthesia business.
Yes.
And what primarily does that deal in? I mean, that office. How did you say, hey, I want to own an anesthesia
It's
business?
one of those things that just kind of fell sort of in my lap a little bit. I had primarily, when I left, I worked, big hospital here in Winston, one of the hospitals.
Right.
And I left that to go private practice and become a 1099 independent contractor. So the company I worked with at the time, the individual who owned it was exiting or looking for a retirement strategy. And I knew that being as involved as I was in that the people he was looking at selling it to was not going to be good for any of the accounts that we had or for me personally. So myself and my co-owner, Darren White, who is 100% business and I'm 100% clinical, had a conversation, and we were like, we can do this. And so we just closed our eyes and jumped. And so now I own that.
That's what I say to all of our small business owners and entrepreneurs is nobody realizes the courage that it takes and the faith that it takes to just say, okay, we're doing this.
Close your eyes and jump.
Yeah. And
it's the same feeling too, like standing on the edge of the diving board. You almost want to throw up.
Yeah, you look down and you're like, I'm all the way out here now.
Yeah, you better swim.
I'm going to look stupid if I don't jump. But no, so how many years have you been in that practice?
8.
Really? Okay, 8. And then because that was affected by COVID.
Directly.
They couldn't do anything because it was it?
It's all elective.
Elective. That's what I was looking for. The elective surgeries were all cut out. I gotcha. All right. So then we get to the aesthetics part of things, but you already had a basis of how to run a business over in this corner. But you just said that you're 100% clinical. But you couldn't have been 100% clinical.
Not 100%, but he has no clinical basis. He is, business. His degrees are all business. My degrees are all medicine based. So I had to learn quickly.
That's sorry, Daniel, I hit the mic. When you transferred to this business.
It was the equivalent of trying to take a drink from a fire hose. You have to learn. But in Darren, I had a huge resource. So it wasn't me solely on myself to do it. But I think there's some instinct. I think big business people have a bit of instinctual of what seems like a good idea. I think it's horrible. I just kind of go with my gut a lot. I guess that's good or bad. It depends on how you look at it. And I still run both practices with the idea of just be good to people. Don't take advantage of people. And I feel like that gets you pretty far in life.
Well, it does these days.
Yeah. There's not a lot of that out there.
No, there isn't that we see in probably the practices that you are in, especially in anesthesia or result-driven businesses. But I find lately that some people are trying to calm down and be a little nicer, I think.
I think in small business you have to. Your reputation is everything. You can't fall back or, on a brand name. Like you aren't that. I mean, you are to some degree, and you will either be successful or you will sink. And the people that I deal with in both businesses, they're people I see every day, especially in the aesthetics avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my name out there on stuff that I wouldn't be proud of.
Exactly.
So you have to be, and I don't want to just, I don't want to randomly just take people's money for services that are not going to help them, because that's not going to do anything for me or for them.
That was what was interesting about, especially on your feed. You do a lot of educational kind of posts that are still with humor, and then some of them are just straight serious. Like, hey, this if you don't have, or what was it? There was something about sunscreen.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you're not going to do this, I'm not going to do this over here, because it's going to just, cancel each other out.
We're big proponents of, it has to be a team effort. Like what I do is probably 20% of your results, and what you do is 80%. There's a lot of places that they'll take your money. They don't care. You want to drop a couple $1,000s on a procedure and then not maintain it. It seems foolish to me, but I'm just not into that. I'm not profiting off of somebody just to profit. I really believe in what we do, and like people feel so much better about themselves that it's usually not a hard buy-in once they start to see results. But it'd be the equivalent of going to the dentist and then never brushing your teeth again. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody kind of even talk that way about fillers.
It's not a very common.
No, they're just like, yeah, let's do it.
A lot of my drug reps and my aesthetic reps, I'm probably not their favorite person because I'm just not a pusher of things. I will do what's best, I feel like, for the client over profit.
And I mean, that's what's rare in business.
Yeah. Darren and I maybe see differently on sometimes on that. Saying he's the money guy and I'm not. But
so is Darren also the co-owner of this?
He is behind. Yes, he is part owner.
Okay, well then that's great. Yeah. You're used to working with each other.
We do.
So what is the most popular thing that you do at your aesthetics business?
Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, they're all sort of neuromodulators, but everybody knows Botox because it was the original brand that came on the market. So it's, everybody refers to Kleenex as Kleenex, but it's not, So when you say Botox, it's a neuromodulator for wrinkle paralysis. My husband jokingly refers to me as the dealer of the gateway drug because he thinks it's everybody's entry in aesthetics. And he's not wrong. It is.
I don't think he's wrong.
It's the one thing everybody knows. It's kind of how they, dip their toes in the water. Mm-hmm. It's the one thing they, visually can see pretty significant results in a really short amount of time. And they can trust you.
Yes.
In that, you quickly build trust that you come in with this issue and I can fix it. So I would say, those are sort of the most popular.
Now, for those who have never had Botox but are thinking about it, that are listening and viewing this right now, what is the biggest benefit that they would see immediately within a little while?
So there's a couple different things. Most people will come in and they'll have lining. Almost always it's the 11s that people, when they make their angry face, clearly I cannot do that, but if I could, because I have a lot in my face. It's just, I'm very forthcoming about what I've had done. Anybody asks me, I'll tell them. But most people's complaint is right in here. They get those 11s they called, or if they lift their eyebrows up, they get the lining across their forehead. That's kind of the key one everybody complains about.
Yeah, my face is staying so neutral right now, so you can't tell if I
Which is also why during COVID, it was kind of a big thing because people had never been online as much as they were and had never spent hours looking at themselves. In a camera for extended period of time, for days on end. And a lot of people after that were just like, you know what, forget it. I'm done. Fix it.
There's some psychology in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So people will say all the time, I'm on Zoom meetings or I was on team meetings and I just got so tired of looking at that line. And so that was kind of a lot of people who you would be surprised who would never have considered it in the past that was sort of breaking point that they were just tired of seeing themselves.
Wow.
So
I also saw you had like one of your little educational videos why you propose full face Botox. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, a lot of people for consecutive times, and I have a lot of people who have never even realized that you can do basically Botox. I'll refer to them as Botox, even though it's multiple brands, just because everybody's aware of that. On a full face, most people think you can fix like your 11s and your forehead and your crow's feet, but nobody ever addresses the lower portion. And when you look at Botox, what it does is it freezes the muscle. So it freezes your face in time as it stands at that moment.
Okay.
It doesn't change anything. But it will freeze you today. Well, if you only freeze the top portion of your face, that means the remainder of the bottom of your face, which is sort of the jowling, people get that creasing in their chin. You kind of get those platysmal bands that, I call it like the lizard neck where the angry lizard flares and they get those long. You can address all of those things. But if you're, been doing Botox to the upper portion of your face for 5 years, that means this portion of your face probably hasn't aged in 5 years, but your lower face has. And now you create this weird, it looks awkward. I refer to it as the mullet of aesthetics because it's like youthful on the top and aging on the bottom.
I heard you actually say that in one of your videos, and I looked at Daniel. I was like, I have a mullet. No.
But it's true. But that's just I think that comes with consumer education and who you go to see. You don't know what you don't know. So if your injector doesn't have that conversation with you, why would you ever know? Now, social media is bringing a lot more of that to the surface for different people. So,
well, I will tell you, I have migraines, chronic migraines, and so they treat my whole head and neck, and then just this portion right here with Botox, which was the last resort. I didn't want to go to that. I just do anything but that. And because I had it in my head, I mean, it's toxic. It's, what if?
Yeah.
And then you just get desperate and you're like, just do it. I don't care what it has, just do it.
And did it work?
It's helping.
Yes.
It doesn't, I can tell when it's time. And so,
we have a lot of people who, there's the plus of the cosmetic, right? They don't have the wrinkles. They can't furrow. But the side effect that they didn't realize is they also can't stress when they're, staring at their computer screens all day.
Yeah.
Or, they do something where they have to concentrate and focus. And at the end of the day, they start to feel like they trigger headache-wise and stress from there. And so that's sort of a side benefit of that.
Yeah, it is. But what happened is exactly what you're saying. So I'm aging on these two sides. And not in the middle where they put it for. And so I asked my doctor, I'm like, dude, this is weird. I'd look weird.
Yeah.
Can you not just put some right there and put some right? She's like, I'm not certified for that.
Right.
No. I have no idea.
And the funny thing is so Botox as a brand comes in two separate formularies. So there's Botox therapeutic and there's Botox cosmetic. It is exactly the same substance, but it has to be purchased differently. So if it's being purchased and used for migraines and such, you have to purchase therapeutic, and therefore it can't be used cosmetic, and vice versa. So I have people who have been denied coverage for what you're talking about that come to us to have it done because their insurance won't cover it. But you have to buy cosmetic. I can't buy therapeutic and claim it. So if it's going on insurance purposes, to have it covered, it has to be therapeutic.
Well, I don't know. I might be seeing you because I've only done, I guess I've had it done 4 times now, but it's in 3 months.
Yeah, every 90 days.
Yeah. Intervals. And
it's amazing that people who, that's part of like the name of the business, all of it, in your face aesthetics. I was kind of tired of, we just have this stigma about it. But I mean, let's face it, if you're 40, 50, 60, we all are coloring our hair. Like we're doing the things to make you feel better about yourself. I was trying to take some of the stigma of aesthetics away, because it does make you feel better about it's like a mismatch between how you feel inside when you look in the mirror and you see the aging person, because you're like, internally I don't feel like I am this old, but my outside doesn't match. So my goal is to try and sort of line those things up where the inside and the outside match, and take the stigma away from it. Like, why do we have to shame people? You don't have to do it if you don't want to.
Right.
But if it makes you feel better about yourself, who am I to stand in the way of it?
I mean, I agree. I think, though, Hollywood has a lot to do with
100%. 100%.
This situation. And I think it potentially makes people do things that, aren't probably the best thing for them all the time, or more than they should. Yeah,
I think social media puts a lot.
And that too.
All these filters that people live behind, that people are trying to achieve these images that don't actually exist.
No, I loved too what you said about the nasal
folds. Yeah.
Yeah, say that. Tell our viewers that.
It's one of the top ones people come into, and they always talk about, nasal labial folds. I hate these things, And yes, they do become more prominent as we age. It's just part of aging. But if you look at small children, they all have it. But all the filters that exist, they blend those away. So everybody wants to come in and they, can you put filler in here? Well, my suggestion for everybody is always, you have to look at facial balancing. And if you have a very heavy nasolabial fold, chances are you have some lack of support in your upper face. It's always a symptom of something higher. So we never will ever just inject nasolabial folds. You have to address the symptom higher. So for me, we always think of cheeks as like the support of your face. And if you think of your cheeks as like a bra,
okay.
If your bra sucks, everything sags.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So if you get a good bra and you pull the girls up, your waist looks better.
True.
If you reestablish volume and support in your cheeks, the same thing happens in your lower face. Everything lower face is a result of higher. And so if you don't address sort of the reason behind, then you won't like the results. Because if you figure everything settles and your weight gets lower in your face as you get older. We all get that sort of jowling kind of pull down. If you just go inject filler in your lower face to fix those nasolabial folds, you're just putting volume where there's already too much volume. Mm-hmm. And we've all seen the person who somebody agreed to do it, and you see them at the grocery store and you're like, something's not right. They get almost muzzly looking because they're trying to get rid of a feature that's naturally supposed to be there.
Which I liked that bit of information, because I mean, it was just the thought process. Yeah, kids do have nasolabial folds.
Kids have nasolabial folds. They have kind of rolls under their eyes. Yeah. But filters get rid of everything, and we're trying to achieve a filtered society, which is not, a reality.
No, and the way that you're doing it is with humor. And then there's sometimes that you come on and you are just like serious and say, hey, I'm out walking in 27-degree weather or something. I don't know what you said.
Yeah.
And
put your sunscreen on.
Put your sunscreen on and tell them why.
Well, everybody, it is the one key thing you can do for yourself to prevent aging. And, I have teenage girls. They always want to be out at the pool.
They don't listen.
They don't get it. There's a lot of people, we all know them. They live by I like what I look like browner. But brown equals sun damage. Like, you can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. The sun doesn't understand if the temperature is 80 degrees or if it's 27 degrees. It's still rays of sun damaging. And the sun we have now, I mean, I never grew up with sunscreen. You probably didn't grow up wearing sunscreen. It was something you put on after you got burnt. Or if it was like my family, it was appalling. They pulled out the banana boat oil, which was an 8. And that was our sunscreen.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I remember is putting the white zinc on your nose and your cheeks after you got sunburnt. It's just we're living in a different era. Our kids have different knowledge base, but they also have a different sun exposure. And so I always am perpetually telling people, the one thing you can do today that 15 years from now, 20 years from now, you will be grateful for is just wear sunscreen every day. It doesn't matter. It comes through when you're driving. It comes through your windows.
Exactly.
You are always exposed to some form of UV radiation. And so it's the one thing you can do. And it's not fancy. Nobody's super excited. And,
Oh, no, but I do it every day as well. You have to sometimes search for the type of sunscreen that will play nice with the makeup you're going to put on and also with your pores. Because I have had trouble with both of those syncing up. And I finally found something that synced up and I don't go out. I don't care what day it is. I don't care if I'm staying in the house.
And I don't care what it is product-wise. Obviously, a mineral-based sunscreen is the best thing you can do for your skin because it's a physical barrier to the sun as opposed to the other ones, which are a chemical barrier, which aren't as effective. And there's, a little more exposure to all the chemicals and stuff with those. But any mineral-based sunscreen, a lot of the makeup brands now have sunscreen in it. I do hesitate for sometimes because people will say, "Oh, my SPF is in my foundation," and I'm like, "Well, if you actually look at the volume of foundation you would have to put on for that to be a true sunscreen, is it helpful? Yes. Can it be your sole sunscreen? Probably not."
Yeah, but that gets people because it makes them have a false sense of security. And I stopped that.
But I'm like, listen, anything is better than nothing. So if that's the most I can get you to agree to at this point, I'll take it. I'm not here to fix the world, but if that's where we can meet in the middle, absolutely go with that. Ultimately, the best thing anybody can do is put sunscreen on every day.
Perfect. You heard it here, folks. Again, because I know you've heard it before, but put your sunscreen on.
Yes.
Even if you're just driving, the sun still gets you.
True.
So that's the number one thing that you do. What would be second as far as?
I think a lot of people come to us because we are more interested in the regenerative process of things.
Me too. I like that.
And I think that's sort of the push in cosmetics industry in this area. Now, there's a lot of people in different areas. We're not in Vegas or Miami or anything like that, where their goal is a lot more of the, they look like they've been done kind of, they've got those lips, they've got the cheeks, like they have a different aesthetic geographically in those areas. We're in Winston.
Yeah.
99% of the people just want to look the best they can at the age they are. They're not trying to look like a Vegas girl. It's just the reality of the world we live in. So we do a lot more of regenerative stuff. I am big on, before we ever get to even injecting a filler per se, is that we need to prime the canvas and get you at your best that you can fix. So whether it's with microneedling, the CO2 laser, some chemical peels, stimulate all the collagen production that your body can do to sort of fix and promote collagen in your skin before we do anything else. Fillers and that are sort of the filter finish at the end. I don't look at them as a first step. If you are in sort of a marathon on I call it your aesthetics journey.
Yeah.
If you don't come in and say to me, I have a wedding in, 12 weeks and I need this all to be fixed, that's a different avenue, right? There's concessions we make to get you where you need to be in 12 weeks. But if you're really just a long-term person, you just see this as being what you want to do to try and maintain where you want to be and look the best at your current age, then there's no reason not to sort of do the things where we have some time. So anything that's going to stimulate your own collagen production is key.
Is there, because I've seen, it almost looks like a horror story of chemical peels. They ultimately end up looking fine, but do you do very deep chemical peels?
The ones we offer, there are some that
Like the one, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, where their whole face looks blistered and
Yeah, and then it peels off in like a mask.
Yeah, I think when you get to sort of those level of peels, there's alternatives. I'm not really big on those because you can't control the depth of the injury to some degree. There's so many patient factors that are variables in that. And once it's on there, it's on there. There's no taking it back. Once you get to a certain depth for restoration, I like to think about the CO2 laser as a better treatment because we 100% control every facet of that. How far apart, the spacing of the ablating is, how deep the laser goes, what we're trying to achieve with the laser, whether it's a superficial, we're just dealing with hyperpigmentation. Are we trying to achieve laxity, fix some laxity in the skin, ablate wrinkles? We use it even depending on the depth for fat elimination, debulk some stuff. So there's a lot more control in that than there is in just a chemical peel. So the chemical peel we use is it's a moderate level. Mm-hmm. There is some peeling, but not like you're talking about. There is, just sort of a general peel.
So you work primarily like neck up, We
do a lot of everything.
Really?
Yes. That's the beauty of the lasers in that. And people always think neck up, but as you get older, you get that kind of saggy skin above your knees.
Yeah.
You can address that. We can use the lasers to address.
I have to come right with you after this.
We can use the lasers as well as radiofrequency microneedling to address the laxity. If you've had, babies, we can tighten that up. C-section scars, mastectomy scars. People who have had just lesion removal and they kind of keloid and get a bigger, thicker scar. We basically can do a lot of it everywhere.
How did you, going to aesthetic school is one thing. Do they teach you all about the lasers there? Like, how do you get into that?
Not really. You do a lot of personal training. So in aesthetics, there's a lot of feedback from different people who become renowned in industries, and certain people follow an avenue that they're really good at or they have a passion about. So there's a few aesthetic injectors that are big laser guru kind of people, and you can do trainings with them. In aesthetics, amazingly enough, there's a lot of online availability and access to a lot of these people. And so you do a lot of training that way, but it is a lot of self-driven, self-learned kind of stuff.
Complicated.
It is a little complicated. It is. Yeah. There's a learning curve to it. Most of the devices, when you purchase your devices, offer a lot of trainings as well, or sort of liaisons that they're affiliated with that you can resource also. So that's been helpful.
Well, how does it feel when you've never done it before and your first person is on the table and you're about to do it?
I will say the first time I ever did lip injections, now I love lip injections. Sarah, who's one of the nurses that works with us too, she's like, Shanna's the filler guru kind of person. And I think it's my, 3-dimensional knowledge when it comes to anatomy. But, I remember I had to tell the person, I was like, just close your eyes and relax. And I'm working right by your face, so I don't want you to accidentally poke you in the eyes. So just keep your eyes closed. And it was really because my hand was shaking so bad that I really was just like, oh, gracious, they can't see this. So, but it was fine. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, but I knew I had the knowledge to do it and the skill to do it. I had just never done it alone by myself. And so there's a lot of things in life. You just fake it to some degree until you make,
I think in business
you have
to.
You just fake it. You have to but you can't portray to the client that that's what's happening.
No.
No. I'd have laughed if I was her. She knew, but I still didn't want her to feel like, that experience. So.
Yeah, but that is a great business point that you're making, though. You do have to just jump in there and do it. Obviously we prepare the best that we can, being in photography and podcasting and everything like that. When we change mediums, which if you go from a laser to a needle or, whatever, when you change mediums in that way, sometimes for our business, it's been like, well, can you do this? And we really have never done that, but we know.
Sure.
Yeah. We're like,
and then you backtrack and are like, okay, how do we do this? Let's figure this out quickly.
Daniel's sitting over there. I'm going, Daniel, have you got it? He's like, let me just give me a minute.
Yeah.
And it always.
But it's the same. And I also think there's validity in admitting what you're not the best at.
Correct.
So I know that if you want a laser with us, you don't want to book it with me. I'm not the guru of lasers. Sarah and Lisa are the people. But I think it's better that I'm the best at what I do. And within, sort of the umbrella of who we are, in-house, there is somebody else who's better than me. And I'm free to admit that that's not Sarah and Lisa, they love that thing. They love the lasers. They love all the science that goes behind it. Sarah bought herself this, I think it's 1,000-page laser textbook that she's reading. She loves it. So why would I think that I should be the one to treat you when Sarah's or Lisa are the better options?
Yeah.
So I think there's, I'm easy to say, don't book it with me. That's not who you want. Now, if you want your lips done or you want, the bioengineered filler that we do, you can come see me. Sarah will be the first one to tell you, don't book it with me. Book it with Shanna. But I think that's why we work well, is because we know each other's strengths. But we're honest with our patients too. Like, I'm not going to fake it with somebody's face.
No.
And we've all seen the results of that, and it's not good. And so I just like to make sure that clients get the best results that they pay for.
Well, and it also, I hear, no matter what business people are in that sit across from us, they say, surround yourself with good people and 100%. Let them do what they do best.
Yeah.
And, kind of keep your hands off of it unless you want some part of that or want to become better at that. But basically, build your team and then you all succeed in that way.
And I feel like regardless of educational level within any of it, clinic-wise, I see us as equals. Okay. There's not really a hierarchy. I think everybody plays their part. We all have our strengths. I like everybody to have input. Ultimately, they always come to me and they're like, what do you think? What do you think? But I'm a big proponent. If you bring something to me that you're passionate about, I can't create passion in somebody. So if it's something you really feel strongly about, let's do it. Run with it. Why not? What do you got? What awesome. Have we got to lose?
I bet you keep your staff around. I bet they don't.
For the most part, turnover. I think I just want people to feel like they're a place where they want to come to work. Yeah. And clients will feel that.
Yes, they will.
If you're having a bad day or you don't want to be where you are, there's no faking that.
No, and two, you have to also have the right people that can calm a client or say, hey, this is going to look great afterwards, and just be calming, encouraging.
There's definitely the hand-holding patient. Yes, that exists.
Yes. What about when things don't go the way the client wanted it to go? Not that but they aren't happy. How do you deal with?
How do we deal with that? Well, I feel like a lot of that is dealt with before we ever do anything.
Okay,
so
this is good.
It's very much in the consultation ahead of time. Some people will kind of, I don't want to say poo-poo sort of the side effects or possibilities, whatever. And I think we're really good on having conversations with clients where we're going to give you the big, the mean, and the ugly. I think it's because that's who I am in anesthesia is, we have plan A, B, and C. So I never go into an anesthetic and not think, well, if this happens, what am I going to do? So there's always sort of in the back of your mind the paths you could go down if there's events. Same thing with aesthetics. I think it's all in the pre-consultation. You have to be honest with people. I make people reiterate back to me certain things so I know they've heard me, that there's not this idea that, we didn't have this conversation. So I like them to know. It's the same idea as when you show up at a hairdresser's with a picture of what you want to look like. Realistically, you don't have that anatomy. So I will give you as close to what you're requesting or what we're trying to achieve within your own boundaries. Now, having said that, there's always people who aren't 100% happy. I think it's always good to acknowledge them and make sure they realize that I hear that they're saying that, and we'll do usually whatever. Again, sometimes at a loss of profit, to make them happy and make them feel like they ultimately were heard the resolution was to their standards, and they leave feeling like they weren't just taken advantage of.
And that's still a great customer experience.
You have to, right? I mean, it's all your reputation on the line. I'm small enough that it would take one social media post that slanders us, that I can't recover from that. There's always that one bad apple. There's not enough positive reinforcement to outweigh sometimes what the negative is when people say it. And so you just have to be conscious of, and we're also very selective. If people come in with realistic, I say no all the time.
Really?
No to people all the time. It's, they come in with unrealistic expectations, or, they're medical procedures. You don't go into your physician and say, well, this is what I want, and I'm going to take this much medicine. Right? That's not how it works. Well, I think you have to give respect to what it is you're doing. This isn't benign. I mean, we're lasering your face. We're putting needles in your face. We're putting filler in your face, which potentially is there for 2+ years. I mean, you have to give it the respect it is and treat it like the medical procedure that it is. And so it's hard, and patients don't often like to hear no. None of us do, but if it's not in their best interest, if I do it and they don't like the results, I have nothing to stand on when I knew it was not the right, way to go. And so I say no all the time.
Do you make them sign some sort of contract?
Yeah, everybody signs a consent form. Good. And I'll tell people, you can walk out of here and walk into 3 other places and they'll probably do it.
Interesting.
But I'm not going to take your money knowing that you are not going to be happy with the end results of it. And I don't want to be part of it. So
I think that's a great mindset.
Well, it's a relationship like anything else, right? You have to have that relationship. And if I don't, and they start to trust you after a while. If I say no to them, but I'm not just like, no, I'm like, this is what we probably need to do instead of, or these are your options before we get to that. They start to trust you. But if I can't, give you a plan that's realistic, there's no point just jumping to the end without reading all the chapters before the ending. So
that's really, really good advice, to always have such communication with your clients or patients, whatever business that you're in. We're very big on consultation in our business, just naturally, because it's word of mouth. It's our name.
Yeah.
It's all you have. And so...
And it's way harder to rub out the effects of a negative...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for y'all, for sure.
For any business. Well, most people post because they are angry or upset about something. Yeah. And most people don't post when it was a great experience.
I know, and I don't know why. I've just started getting better. Some of it was my fault. A lot of it was my fault. But not asking for the review and going ahead and having the link and
just have them do it.
Have them do it while it's fresh in their head here. But yeah, I mean, you have to ask for those. And I think if you've got more 5 stars and you have 2 1 stars, I do think people are smart enough to see past that. I am anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think on a business perspective, you look at them differently too.
Well, that's true.
You probably are like, well,
Yeah.
But you just take it with a grain of salt. But it's hard.
What are you going to continue this double ownership, working yourself, like what you're working yourself?
Working myself. For now, yes. It's working out for now. Anesthesia is a tough world right now.
Wow.
Everything in medicine's a tough world. There's just, provider burnout. After COVID, there is a lot of people just decided not to come back. You hear about all these nurses that are leaving nursing. It's a tough world to be in right now. But there's a lot of small practices that don't want to be bought out by the sort of big conglomerates that are sort of amoebaing everybody into it. Here, your other, Novant or, Atrium. Yeah. there's a lot of people who want to keep their practices private. And so for anesthesia purposes, they don't have other alternatives but somebody like me. So if I exit, they then are kind of left without somebody. But it's also an avenue where nurse anesthetists can practice independently without having to be part of the mega
machine. Mm-hmm. What is the main thing that you do at your other, like procedurally?
We cover a lot of different facilities. We do a lot of GI, eyeballs, eye centers, some plastic surgery offices, urology. We do a broad spectrum of office-based kind of things.
Gotcha.
We do the anesthesia for, I'm not sure if you're aware of Penta, Piedmont Ear, Nose, and Throat in Winston. They have a surgery center off of Stratford Road.
I think I am.
Yeah. They're part of that idea too, that they have their own surgery center, but in order to get anesthesia, they need a smaller, a local provider, not, they can't have the big guns because then they have to sell their stuff. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So are you noticing, and this is taking a little bit of a turn, some shortages in medication that you
medicines? Yes, there's shortages in everything right now. Providers, medicines. It's all a trickle down effect because factories that produce it are now short staffed, so they're not able to produce. For a while there, IV fluids were really an issue.
No, I heard about that
because one of the production plants is Western North Carolina, and that got impacted.
And somebody told me, a nurse told me that 60% of the IV fluids came from that particular.
Yeah, it was a Baxter.
Yeah.
And so it's all trickle down. Nothing, we came back from COVID and I don't think we've even yet recovered in all aspects. You see all these restaurants that can't find servers. Nurses are leaving the profession. There is, so when you can't find people to work the factory job to make the product, there's, we can't get the product.
I don't know what the answer to that is, but I definitely know and have personally been impacted by those shortages.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so anyway, it's interesting to me to hear about both sides of what you do.
Yeah.
It's very
I jokingly talk about, I had better access to supplies on mission work sometimes than we do in conventional North America. Like we just don't have it. But
do you do mission work?
I've done some, yeah. I haven't done any recently, but I did a bunch of mission work in Haiti.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pre sort of all the turmoil for anesthesia. Yeah.
Wow. Well, all I know is I like it. I like your content. I like what you're doing. I like
very sweet.
No, I do. I like your integrity. And I think you stand behind every single thing that you do, no matter what it is.
Oh, that's sweet.
And
I'm just trying to be a good person and help people out. I'm not making, it's first world changes, right?
Yeah.
You talk about aesthetics. Nobody's going to die if they don't come see me. But it definitely makes a difference on people's self-esteem.
It does. It really does. So I might have to have you fix the other part.
We can do it.
Yeah.
We can fix your mullet.
Yeah. I have a mullet now. So if you didn't know before, I'm going to go ahead and explain it again. It's for migraines, and they only do it right here. It's like a target practice right here. They do it everywhere. But anyway, these lines are aging, and this is not.
True.
So anyways, how accessible financially do you feel like y'all are? Because I don't know.
We tend to keep ourselves very marketable.
Okay.
Price point wise. We also offer financing. There's like a 90, through a financing agency that does like a care credit. It's a 90-day zero interest. And then there's a payment plan you can establish. But we keep ourselves within the market. We're not the most expensive. We're not the cheapest.
Perfect.
But we're sort of right in there.
Where do you want to be? Where do you want these businesses to be in the next several years? What is your imagination?
My imagination. It's funny. People ask me that all the time. A lot of my reps see our growth and are like, so you only have like 3 rooms in this, your current site. Where are you going to go? And when they first started saying it to me, I was so overwhelmed with being where we are, having to build out a brick and mortar, that I just couldn't see the forest for the trees. And now I'm looking at it and looking at our, our rate of growth and exponentially. And I think, okay, so now that's really kind of a more realistic question. And so I see aesthetics as 100% exit to anesthesia at some point.
Okay.
At some point, I don't know what that looks like. My people, Darren always laughs at me as, you don't ever have really a plan. I'm like, I'll know it when I get there.
Because it's your gut feeling.
I'll know when I'm ready. And I'm not ready to leave one or the other to do 100%. I did school for so long. I love anesthesia. I love aesthetics. So I'm not ready to leave one avenue of either of them. But aesthetics will be my exit eventually.
Okay. Then we got to your goal.
Yeah, we have a goal.
You have defined your goal right here.
Yeah. Who knows when that'll be, though.
How do you feel about that? Do you want to take a deep cleansing breath?
I mean, I entered it knowing that would be the ultimate goal. So we'll see.
All right. So if people want to find you, tell me how the best way to do that.
The easiest way is online. We have a website, inyourfaceaesthetics.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and much to my children's chagrin, we're on TikTok.
I didn't even get to that.
Mortified. There's some joy in it, though. Embarrassing your children.
Yeah. You need to teach me a few more.
Girl, do you know what it's like to do TikTok at 50?
No, I don't.
It is a learning curve.
I don't even know how it works.
I didn't either, but, I'm trying.
The ones that you choose, a lot of them, or some of them were from Wicked, the musical, and like the popular kind of thing. There was a couple, and I was like, does she like Wicked? Have you?
I do like Wicked, but I also try to follow what sort of the trending is a little bit. It's so cringy sometimes. I feel like, and you're embarrassed doing it, but I'm like, well, just whatever. You're 50. What are you going to do? Just do it.
I mean, what have you got to lose?
What have I got to lose? People are going to laugh at me. They already judge and laugh anyway. So whatever. You just have to get out of your own head and do it.
Please don't stop, because you're encouraging me to. I've tried. I haven't gotten it figured out.
I got tired of delete. You do it. At first I would do it, delete. And then I said, just forget it. I'm just doing it. Whatever. It is what it is. One take. Let's do it. Go.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sometimes it works and sometimes
I feel challenged.
You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
I feel challenged.
You can do it. Get out of your own head.
Look. You can do it. I am in my head a lot.
Mm-hmm. We all are.
Yeah. So go and find In Your Face Aesthetics. What about your anesthesia? I mean, do you market for that?
We do. We have a company that markets for us. They reach out to different businesses. Anesthesia Care Services is my anesthesia business.
So if you want to have some good rest.
Yeah.
Right here.
Take a nappy nap.
I love that. Well, thank you for joining us.
I am so appreciative of you having me on.
No,
it was a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. And for everybody out there, if you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, follow Legacy Podcast Studio online and all the places, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And then if you're an audio listener, it's on Spotify and iTunes as well. And then our website, legacypodcaststudio.com. If you have questions, if you have someone who you think would be a great guest, or there's a topic of conversation that you would like us to, get into, get in touch with us on any of those. We read them all, and we're so thankful for each and every one of you. And we can't wait to see you next episode. Bye.